I want us to take a little bit look at that of the media query, which it kind of helps us create responsive designs in our web page. So if we refresh this right here, and you see that we do have like 4 columns per row right here, but there are some situations or some screens where this may turn from these 4 columns to something like 2, and at some cases it may just turn to 1 column per row. So if we bring this down right here, see that it just basically turns to 2 right here. All right, so if you keep increasing that, you are going to see that quite a lot of things are just basically going to be happening. So you see that it drops. And I know that testing this by just resizing the screen is not the ideal thing to do, but a lot of the time we use this to kind of get the clear clue of what we are just basically doing. All right, so most of the time you may just have to like hit your F12 to be able to do this. So if I press my function key and then hit my F12, and I'm just basically on window right here. So if you are on a Linux, you should just be able to find out the right keys to just click. So we do have, if you do your F12, we do have some screens that you can basically use right here. And this one is a lot better than just resizing the browser. So this dimension that we have in here just for iPhone 12 Pro, and you see that it turns to single columns right here. We can click this little drop down arrow right here to see some other screens that we can just basically use. All right. So this is 4 columns right here, and I think the size or the width for this is over 800 right here. So if you want something like a Samsung Galaxy S8, if you hit on that, it's going to show you how it would look on a Samsung Galaxy S8 right there. So we do have a couple of screens right here that you can use. We also have S20 Ultra right here. You can just basically feel free to use any screen that you want to basically test for right here. So I think we also have something like an iPad mini right here. Look at this right here. If I select this, it should turn to 4 columns. Okay, it turns to 2 columns right there, which is okay for that. It should be able to look good. So iPad Pro, it turns to 4 column right here for the iPad Pro. So that's just basically what I'm just trying to refer to, so that when you view the output on any screen, it should be able to look just fine. And what we want to do right now is let's see how we can just put this together, and we're going to use something like Grid System to do that. Now I want to create a folder right here, and I'm going to just basically call that responsive as a folder name, and let's go ahead and then open this up with our editor. So I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. You can open your own up with whatever editor you're using. Let me create my first file right here. I'm going to basically call this index.html. Get that opened up, and let's generate our HTML boilerplate. So I'm going to just do exclamation hit tab, and it's going to generate this for me. So let me just do responsive grid system, and I'm going to just do media query right here. All right, your title can just basically be anything you want. Now on this page right here, let me just mention one thing. See this line that we have in here, this viewport, it's really very important. All right, really very important. In fact, what I'm going to do is, let's first of all comment this out, and so we're going to comment that at a later time. Maybe we're going to use it to like prove something as we move along. And yeah, so within the body, in fact, let me just, okay, so within the body right here, let's create a div. I'm going to just give that a class. What am I doing that on the wrong part? So let's hit in here first and just say div, and this is going to be a class, and this is going to be called a container, and let's terminate or close the div right here. So within this div, we're going to create another div. Let's give that a class, and I'm going to just basically call that box, and let's name this box 1, and I want to copy this, then paste that a couple more times. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and what we want to do is to change this to 2. This becomes 3, and this one becomes 4, and the same thing to the rest until we get to 8. All right, so I'm done a kind of labeling that. Now we can open this up to see how it's looking so far in our browser. So if we open responsive, and then we'll open this index, and this is just basically what we'll have right here. And obviously it looks ugly, so let's add some style into it, as well as see how we can make that responsive. So let's do style tag right here, and within this place, the first thing I would like to style is going to be this div right here. So that's just basically called a container. So I'm going to just do container, and within this container right here, we're going to do a couple of things right here just to see how is it that we can just kind of divide those items or those columns into rows on our web page. And if you want to do that, it's just basically going to be really very simple. How do we do that? So we can, if we take a look at this, first of all, you see that by default, this is how it looks so far. I think what I'm going to just do first of all is to just go to the box first. Let me do dot box right here. And I want to just like give that a background. That's why I want to just jump to that so that it can help in trying to explain this a lot more. So let's give this the following hexadecimal colors. All right, so we can give that background, and if we refresh, we may not be able to like basically see that differently, but the background is going to come in, but they're just a little bit kind of compacted together. So we can just let's give color, and this is going to be white. That's for the text. And if we do that, we can also work on the padding. So I'm going to just do padding. That's just the spaces within. And let's say this is going to be, let's do 40 pixels and by 0 pixels right there. All right. And then after we do that, we can just do text align. I want to align text to the center. So this is going to be center. And we can move on to maybe the box. Let's do box radius right here, or border radius, not box radius, guys. So it's going to be border dash radius. And let's set that to maybe something like 8 pixels or thereabouts. So let's do 8 pixels just to cover the edges of the boxes. And we can do a font size, and maybe something like 20 pixels like that. So I want to save the changes right here, and then if you take a look in here, we'll refresh, you will see a sign that we do have some curved edges right here, even though we are not like having this column by column the way that it's just basically supposed to be. But what I want to do is to do that within the container right here. All right, and if you want to do it, it's really very simple. First of all, let's do display, and we're going to just do display. Let's make sure I type this correctly. This isn't correct. This is display, and I want to change that to, I want that to be flex. Not really flex, but grid. So this is going to be grid because we're going to be using grid system. You can also use flex if that's what you want to do. So if we save this, then we'll take a look at this. You see that something is really happening, but we have not actually gotten that to be column by column. And if we want to do that, we can use something that is called a grid template colons to do that. So if we do grid dash templates dash colons, all right, I think that the new way is to just do something like a grid template. You may not even have to add something like colons to be able to do that, but that's fine. Now what I want to do is to just, I do have like 8 boxes in that page. And what I want to do right now is to just break them into 4, right? So I'm just do repeats right here. And then within here, I'm going to pass through 4. And it's going to be 1 fraction fr right here. So let's terminate this line. And if we save the changes and check, we should have that in columns now. So let's go to, let's refresh in here. And you see that we do have this way. All right. So this is box 1. We do have box 2. This is box 3. This is box 4. So we can look for a way to create spaces around them. And if you want to do that, we can use gap to do that. So if we get down here, and we can just basically do gap, and maybe something like 15 pixels or 14 pixels will be fine. And let's save the changes, refresh. You see that it separates that, right? We're also going to need something like, let's say we're going to add a padding also to that, so that within the element or the boxes, we can have some spaces. So if we do padding right here, we can set that to maybe 20 pixels, and that should be looking just fine. All right. So this is how we can just basically turn those horizontal columns that we had, box 1, box 2, we can just turn them into these 4 columns that we have in here using this gap right here. All right, using this particular grid system in combination with the display, and we're able to like do that. So this is the parent container right there. With this, we're able to do that. And then down here, we are just basically styling the boxes, each boxes that we have in that particular place right here. All right, now this way that it is right now, of course, if you try to resize, it wouldn't actually be responsive or something of that nature. All right, no matter how small or how big the screen is going to be, it's going to always maintain 4 boxes right here. And even if you think like maybe we should go to F12, and then we'll begin to switch the stuff that we have in here, you see that it basically will not be able to make that responsive. So no matter the screen, is always going to maintain that 4 different columns that we have in there. But we can use media query to make changes to this. And if you want to do that, let's go back to our code, and maybe down here, let's use media query to do that. All right, so let me put a comment in here, and someone just do make responsive with media query. All right, and the first one I want to attack right now is for me to be able to get the I'm just thinking about the, let's say, the tablet. First of all, the tablet screen. And if you want to do that, then I'm going to just still put a comment down here and just say target the tablets screens. And to do that right here, what I'm going to do is I just basically would like to make that turn to something like a 2 columns per row or something like that nature. All right, so I'm going to just do this arrow right here and just do 2 rows. All right, so if you want to do that, the syntax to like start working with that of the media query, you can just do at media like this, and you can just within here want to throw in the screen you want to target within this particular place right here. All right, so once you do at media, you can just do max dash width, and let's say the screen you want to target right here is going to be that of the tablet screen, which is always 700 and maybe 68 or something like that. And you can just set that in pixels. All right, so with this right here, every time the web page kind of experiences a screen that is just less than this or just within this right here, all right, if it is something like 768 pixel wide or less than it, apply the style that I'm going to just basically give her right here. And what I want to do is just basically to like hit on the container. So we need this, we need to copy this style that we'll have in here, and then we can go ahead and put that right there. So within here, I'm going to just basically go ahead and paste this in here. And what I'm going to need is not going to be very much. So I want to take away this. They can, if those things, if they stay, that's fine. But what I want to just basically work on is the columns right here. So let's take this away, and I want to work on these template columns right here. And what I would like to do is if the screen is under this value right here or less than this, I want it to just turn to 2 columns. So I can change this to 2 column fraction right here, 1 fraction. So if we save the changes right here, and then we'll take a look at here. So I want to refresh, and let's say we change this to, I think we don't have tablet right here, but I think if we use something like iPad mini, and we may be having some issues right here anyway, based on the fact that we haven't actually enabled this screen right here. So no matter what we even write in there, we need to re-enable this so that it can start taking effect. So I want to uncomment this, save the changes, and the style should just start coming in. All right, you see what is happening right there. So it now understands, now trying to render whatever style that we have written for this right here just now. Talking about this particular place right here. All right, and I don't want to just like do so much about this styling right here. So this should be enough to like show you what we're just basically doing or what is going on right here. And I remember the syntax right here. So this is going to get closed down here, and this one that we have in here is going to get closed down here. All right, so we can just tap this a little bit over so that it can be a little bit more readable. Now what I want to do is that we can also target some other screens, right? So because in a situation, if we go back to the screen right here, and let's say we choose smaller screen, let's say we choose, remember that this one that we have chosen right here, you see what is happening is, if you take a look at here, this is exactly the screen we chose right there, and anything less than that is going to just keep on turning them to 2 columns. So if we kind of select a screen that is maybe 660 something, it's just basically still going to be turning it to maybe 2 columns right there. All right, so let's say we use this. This one is too big anyway, so let's use this. This is 390, and it's still turning that to 2 columns. You see what is happening right here. But we want a situation where we should be able to like maybe turn it into maybe a single column if the screen is really short, really small. We want to see a way we can just basically maybe for instance, this one that we have in here, this is 344. We want this type of screen right here to just turn to 1 column. And if you want to do that, I've just copied that into the clipboard and then paste that around here. And then we can target a screen that is just maybe exactly that or even less than that. And how do you do it? We can just do something like 480. If we do 480 right here. And what we basically want to do, let's write just a tiny line of a style for this right here. And what I'm going to do is just turn it to 1 column. So if you do 1FR right here, it's just basically going to do it for us. So if we save the changes here, And let's say we'll go back in here and then we'll refresh. You're going to see it's going to turn this to 1 column per row. So let's refresh. You see what is happening? So it turns that to 1 column. And that's just basically what we're targeting. And I think it's just fine. And that should be enough for you guys to understand how to use media query. And if you have columns and if you have boxes on the web page that are just all that so big, like this, we do have like 4 columns right here. You can always find your way to turning them into single columns on some other screens, all right? Especially if the screen is really too small, and if it is large, if it is medium. So that's just basically what that is. You can even maybe target something like landscape or portrait if you want to do that. I think by default this is portrait, and we can also target something like landscape if you want to do that. So I think I'm going to just basically stop right here, and if you have any questions you can just go to the comment section and then drop your question right there. I'm going to respond to that. So thank you guys, and if you are not following me you may never see me again. So I think it's actually the nicest decision for you to just feel free to follow me right now so that you don't miss out on my future videos like this. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one.